Inside is a game with zero dialogue or text, and it's considered by many to be one of the best indie games of all time. It tells the entirety of its story through its visuals, its sound design, and most importantly, its environment. But before we get into how Inside does it, let's see how some other games use these details to enhance their story. Now, environmental storytelling uses the game world to set the mood, hint at the plot, or even reveal crucial details, all without directly telling you. In Oneshot, for example, you begin the game in this desolate wasteland with broken robots, abandoned factories, and no humans around, showing that the world has seemingly been abandoned. But as you get closer and closer to the tower, the world becomes more and more lively as all the people have evacuated to these areas. Or in Stars in Time, we constantly see statues of the Change God, showing that religion is very important to the people of this country, which gets reinforced when you actually talk to the people. Or even in Undertale, where we can find remnants of the previous fallen humans. Some ballet shoes here, a burnt pan there, human items showing the inevitable fate of anyone that falls down, without having to be told what happened to them. It's these small details that don't entirely tell a story, but give you hints about what has happened in this world before you arrived, or even what's going to happen. But it can also be used to tell you more about characters themselves, like in OMORI, which uses the environment in a very unique way, because a big part of the game plays out in the main character's head. This opens the door for some great uses of environmental storytelling, as everything we see in the headspace sections of the game is a direct result of Sunny's mind. The environment is literally created by him, which reveals little details about him, like fun memories he has with his friends, or how he's interested in astrology. But also more sad stuff, like how he's scared that one day everyone will go and get jobs, leaving him behind. And then, of course, you have something that haunts him throughout his mind. OMORI uses environmental storytelling to convey emotions and thoughts by literally giving us a peek into Sunny's head, while at the same time foreshadowing the big plot twist of the game. But games also use the environment not to directly tell a story, but to set the mood for the game, like in Fears to Fathom. Now, Fears to Fathom Home Alone is the scariest game I have ever played. When I say I played it, I mean I quit after 5 minutes because I was too scared, and I watched a playthrough for the rest of it. Although this game tells most of its actual story through text messages, the atmosphere it builds through the environment and its sound design is what makes this game the scariest I have ever played. You play as a 14-year-old boy who is home alone for the night, and the game already starts with this low droning noise, which sets an incredibly unnerving atmosphere. Not even 2 minutes into the game, you can spot someone looking at your house, instantly creating that tantalizing fear that somebody is watching. You've no clue who that was. Maybe it was just a guy looking at your garden or something. But the atmosphere created by the sound makes you assume the worst. The game progresses to you eating lasagna while watching TV, every little sound effect having a slight level of reverb, just that little extra feeling of you being in this completely empty house. When you see someone walk up your stairs. When you finish your lasagna though, you realize that your character did not see him go upstairs. And the game will not progress further until you follow him upstairs. The supposed to be safe environment of your bedroom now becomes the scariest place where you could possibly be, and the game forces you to go there. In your attempts to do something else, anything else, you walk behind the stairs, and you realize how they got in. Small change in environment, just a door being open, just some footsteps on the stairs, fills you with an immense feeling of dread. We see how games can really set the tone of the story using the environment here, which can infinitely enhance the actual story and overall experience of the game. Later in the game, you get a text message from your mom with a picture of someone at your front door, and once again, the game forces you to go check it out, or it will not progress. Through all this, we see Fears to Fathom uses environmental storytelling to make certain areas feel unsafe, and then forces you into those exact environments. creating one of the scariest gaming experiences out there that I cannot do justice through video. If you enjoy horror games, I highly recommend you play this game. It's free and only about 20 minutes. Now, in the examples we've looked at so far, the environment takes more of a back seat, not being the main way of storytelling, which is mostly a good thing. It allows you to choose if you want to focus on the story, as the environment itself doesn't interrupt the gameplay, so if you just want to play the actual game, that's fine too. If we then come back to inside, we see every single one of these methods used. To use the environment not just to add to the story, but tell the entire story. Inside starts out in a dark forest where we see a truck full of people getting sent away by some people in masks, while they actively look for more people. When they do see the boy that you play as, they chase him down with dogs that look like wolves, searchlights and even tranquilizer guns. The visuals instantly set the world to look dark and oppressive. People without faces, the rain and the overall darkness of the scene all add to this unsettling feeling. In the sound design we can hear the calm sounds of the forest, which then get completely overshadowed by the heavy trucks, the harsh gunshots and the barking of the dogs. Showing how these people, which I'm going to refer to as just the corporation, have taken over the world as we know it. After we escape the search party, we end up in a farm where we see a ton of dead pigs, presumably to a plague of some sort. But without giving much time to investigate, a pig shoots to life and attacks us. We can knock it out by making it run into a wall, and then we pull out this parasite looking thing, which calms it down, so we can jump onto it to get into this helmet. This helmet allows us to mind control as people. After some more puzzles, we arrive in the city, and as we jump across roofs, we see two types of people on the ground. People walking as if they were zombies, and people in uniform, keeping them in check. This creates a haunting image of an oppressed world, with the corporation supposedly having mind controls all these people to do as they please. Now as we get deeper and deeper into the facility, we find this long-haired creature in the water, who seems to be able to breathe underwater. Only later do we find another of these creatures, this time in an aquarium, wired shut, revealing that they too have been experimented on, which is why they can breathe underwater. We see people hanging in flowing water, more people in cages, even more so, making you feel unsafe, as this is what might happen to you if you get caught. As we get closer and closer to the end, we start seeing empty desks with cigarettes still smoking, phones hanging from the lines, as if everyone left the office in a hurry. And when we walk a little further, we see where they all went. This tank now becomes the most interesting thing in the entire game, and the next thing we know, we get inside of it, and we can see what all the scientists were looking at. We disconnect the blob and it absorbs us into it, and as we get control of it, the escape begins. The sound design here is so satisfying. Everything we do feels like it has a huge impact. We fall through the floor at one point into this weird diorama thing. And as we break down the entire facility, we come across a closed, reinforced door, which gets opened by an employee? That was weird, but anyway, we continue our path of terror, and as we get into the cafeteria, we burst into an important looking office and brutally murder the guy in there, seemingly a higher up. And with some final help from other employees, we fall down an entire mountain, and the game ends in this scenery that looks awfully familiar. And as you realize why it looks familiar, you realize the weird things you saw throughout your escape. The employees helping you, all the office guys looking at the tank before anything even happened, or even the fact that the guy we killed, the boss, had his main office in the middle of the cafeteria. All this leads us to believe that the supposed escape was actually all planned by the corporation, and nothing from this world ends up actually changing. And that's Inside. Now, Inside, in my opinion, is a little bit too vague. I prefer games with a lot of reading, as long as it's an engaging story. But it's still incredible what this game manages to create, as you constantly try to figure out what is happening next, all without dialogue or text. And if it works for you, that's great. Now whether you like a game like Undertale, where subtle hints are sprinkled throughout the environment, or a game like Inside, where the whole story unfolds through what you see and hear, environmental storytelling is used in nearly every game, and it's fascinating to see all the different ways it can be used. Tell me in the comments which way you prefer, and with that said, I'll see you guys next video.